Port State Measures Agreement, how it's relevant to India, and how that can be, the agreement can be leveraged to the advantage of promoting export and then processing. So before I move, I recognize like this is a kind of a, sometime it can turn as a jargon to majority of the people. It's not a very common usage. So if I don't get you on board on these two terms, possibly I'll be losing you for my entire presentation. So port state means it's a country that has the authority to inspect the foreign vessels where they come to the port. So in other words, like every country will be having, at least in this context, we shall understand 4 responsibilities: port state responsibility, flag state responsibility, coastal state responsibility, and market state. So it's just like me as an individual, I'll have some responsibility as a father to my son, as a son to my father. So I'll be having like as a husband to my wife. So each one having multiple responsibilities. Like this, the country will be having port state responsibilities towards the foreign vessels which enter into our port. And then flag state responsibilities towards the domestic vessels which operate within the country or outside, wherever is in terms of giving registration, framing the rules. Coastal state is like the responsibility to govern the territorial waters, whether it is domestic vessels or the foreign vessels. Market state responsibilities as a country, the roles that we have to manage the resources when the product is kind of flowing within the country in terms of traceability and other things. So here our discussion is pertaining to the port state responsibility. It is when a foreign vessel comes to the Indian port, what measures the country should be having. That's port state. And when we say port state measures, again, it's not a very totally a new thing, but we experience when we travel across to different countries. Before going, we'll be applying for visa. Same way, when a foreign vessel comes to our country, they have to just seek a kind of an entry permit, advance permission. And then once we land into the other country, we will be taking, there will be some passport check in the airport. Similarly, when the vessel comes and then unloads the fish, there are certain measures in the harbor, in the port. The rules are framed by the respective countries. Those are the port state measures. So today, India is one of the leading importer, exporters. So every cargo vessel port, there are a lot of measures available. But when it comes to fish, to have a harmonized methods, there is a kind of an agreement which is anchored at FAO, that is Port State Measures Agreement. And India is not a party as yet, so that's where actually how we should, why we should be, and then if at all when we want to proceed there, what we should be doing. That's what is my entire discussion here. So what this FAO's Port State Measures Agreement says. So it is, this is the first binding international instrument which has the focus on combating IUU, illegal, unreported and unregulated fishery. So you can just imagine like when a vessel comes, it is just in the high seas, it wants to enter into the country's jurisdiction. So what kind of vessel, fish is there, what is the status of that, where it was caught, and then what gears were used, and if at all the fish has been transshipped from any other vessel, what details are available, catch on board, and then vessel's flag, that is which country the boat is from or the vessel is from, and the vessel marking as per the international standards. ILO is one that makes standards for all this. So the country, the host country or the receiving country will be checking all this. If they meet the requirements, they say like, okay, the vessel can come in. If not, they can stop. And then to have this minimal standards, that's what actually is a port state agreement. So to combat illegal and unreported unregulated fishery, FAO has a series of instruments. It started with the notification of UNCLOS 1982. Of course, that is not precisely from FAO, but there are so many developments across the world that happen. I'll not get into all the details, but PSMA is one focused binding instrument. Currently, 85 countries are parties, and from this Bay of Bengal rim countries, almost everybody is a party except India here. This is a picture providing like how the members are distributed. 85 countries. You can see in the Asia Pacific almost India is a major lacuna there. And once a country is becoming party to this agreement, they will be required to designate which ports the foreign vessels can come in. It's something like if you have 100 airports, to say like 20 of them are international airports. So any foreign flight can come only to those airports, not to the other airports. It's as simple as that. So the countries will be declaring these are the ports where the foreign vessels can come. So a vessel which is in the high seas, they will see only these 10 ports. They can contact whichever is nearby, and the port authorities will say whether you can come in or not, case to case basis. So you just see like in Thailand, all of you being exporters, you will be knowing like it's a major reprocessing hub. Why it's happening? This is one instrument. Like there are 28 ports in Thailand which are PSMA notified. They are designated. Foreign vessels can come to 28 ports. And Australia, there are 59. China, which became party to this agreement only in 2025, just last year, less than 1 year if I remember correctly, it has notified 23 ports. Sri Lanka, our small neighbor, has 3 ports. Maldives has 7. Bangladesh has 3. India has not a single designated port. It means a foreign fishing vessel with its load of fish, today it cannot come and then unload its fish in our Indian harbor. So does it mean like, okay, we are not party to this, no foreign vessel can come and then we don't follow any of these rules? No, that's not the case. So here, the countries which are parties to this agreement, like Bangladesh, Indonesia, Maldives and all in our region, they will be following these minimal standards. And then when I say PSMA, you just imagine the guidelines, immigration formalities in an airport, same thing in the port. So they will be following as per this standard, and they are party to this. But there are few countries, prominent countries in the region like Malaysia and India who are not parties to this, but yet we are bound by certain regulations. We are totally not out of bounds of the international regulations. We follow these port state measures if at all a vessel comes, because of our obligations through our IOTC, all of you will be aware. It's a regional fishery management organization which comes out with the binding resolutions. So series of resolutions related to port state measures, it has come from IOTC. So it means India, though it is not party to PSMA, it follows the minimal standards. It is required to follow those standards because of the being a member of IOTC through the resolution. The latest one is 25/11. So now let's see, like Thailand, I said like 28 ports are there. How it happens? What is the significance of this? Like, I don't know whether you're able to see this, I suppose. So Thailand as a case, the fish Thailand gets through the domestic, their own registered fishing vessels, approximately 1.2 million metric tons. And through the foreign fishing vessels, that is a fresh fish, through the port state measures process, they have a EPSM, port state measures electronic, and they also come to the same fishing ports. That is almost like 0.85 million tons. And in addition to that, Thailand also imports. A lot of countries send, including India, we send a lot of fish, processed fish, maybe frozen or some other form. So that amounts to 1.25 million tons. So apart from the 1.2 which the country catches, close to 2.1, double the quantity of fish comes to Thailand either as a processed good or as a raw material from other countries. And this fish either through the market, through the other fishing harbor, or finally it reaches the processing plants. So you can imagine like the load of inputs that is coming to the processing plant, and the export from processing from Thailand will be obviously more than what Thailand catches. You can imagine, because the sources are from multitudes, right? So this shows like what India is as a country we are missing out. That is, every ton, you can imagine like for every ton of fish that is processed or value added, there will be a substantial amount of inputs going in terms of labor, cold chain, canning, testing, logistics, certification, a lot of manpower, employment, small market economy will be developed, right? And particularly when a country wants to export fish which is coming from outside, there are international market regulations, be it EU or US markets, they will be kind of expecting a country to be party to this because they are party just to check for IU fishing. So this is a case like for 1 ton, the price in Thailand, it is like, you can see like almost 3 times the price increases or the value increases through processing. So if this happens within the country. If we take in India, whatever money, that is whatever value that we realize through our product, 3 times more value, to that extent more employment and other things will happen within the country. So by not signing this agreement as a country, it will be very difficult to meet the potential to serve as an alternate reprocessing or export hub for the foreign fishing vessels linked with wild capture seafood. This is another story. This is to take our neighbor, only Maldives, taking a case like how much Maldives is exporting to Thailand. Only one country, one product. You can see like over a period of time, a substantial growth is there in terms of, currently it is like, I'm not able to read, so the extent of fish that is being exported from Maldives, and there is a consistent increase. The value is almost like 300 and almost 400 million US dollars in 2019-23, right? And not only Maldives, India is also sending some amount of fish, particularly tuna, to Thailand. So now you just imagine, like, Maldives is sending to Thailand, bypassing the potential seafood processing facility that is available in our country. It is just a case of just one species tuna, one country, Maldives. Imagine like so many countries, so many fishery, the multi-species fishery that is very characteristic of this region. If we are party, possibly that will be opening up a huge potential for our processing facilities. So here is a kind of another scenario. The upper image, which is the image from the Global Fishing Watch, the latest one currently, this shows like the number of fishing vessels which are plying in the high seas in the western coast, right? So much of fishing is happening in the high seas, and since our ports are not open to getting the foreign vessels, so this fishery which is caught in the high seas, they are all sent to other countries where actually the ports are notified. So if they come, and you can see the number of sea processing plants and the infrastructure that we have, and if by some count, I don't know, like it is like 30 to 40% of effective utilization. It is less than 40. The director says like it is less than 40% of the utilization. That is a level of utilization of our seafood processing plant, right? So this is one potential, not only for the existing processing plants to be kind of effectively functioning, and also to have large number of more plants, more employment and all like. So by becoming a party, so we'll be getting to improve our utilization potential and support value-added seafood exports, re-exports particularly, taking the model of Thailand. And now today when we are kind of expanding our Sagarmala based kind of a port initiative, port-led development, this is one sector we should leverage this. And moreover, our reputation in the global arena as a seafood exporter will be much, much better once we become party to this. Like after becoming party, it doesn't mean like we have to allow our foreign vessels. The choice becomes case to case. So it's not like totally the country has not taken note of this. It has been in the thick of conversation in the Ministry of Fisheries, Ministry of Commerce, particularly MPEDA. Series of discussions have happened, but somewhere actually we did not get to the place where just let us go and then sign. Only that part is left. So we jointly with MPEDA and Department of Fisheries, we had a consultation in BoBP and FAO, led a kind of extensive consultation. And subsequently we had a high-level meeting with interministerial team, just bringing the FAO team to meet the Secretary, Fisheries, senior officials from External Affairs, Commerce, Navy and all. So broadly, every unit recognized like there is a need, we have to move forward. And before doing that, like we need to kind of align our legal framework with the PSMA requirements. That was a gap. And we have to build our national capacity. We may have excellent human capacity in terms of handling the cargo. But if a load of fish comes, whether our ports are equipped with the required number of manpower who are trained to handle all these measures, kind of an immigration handling procedures, are they trained? They are not. So that's one gap. And more important is like we have to sensitize and then allay the apprehension that potentially will be there among the officers, particularly the fishermen, who may think like, okay, foreign vessel is coming, they may do fishing in our waters. If they come here, our livelihood will be affected. So there will be a lot of false apprehension. I consciously say it is false apprehensions. without taking them on board, it will be very difficult to move ahead. Like so, some steps even before signing or as we think of signing need to be done. And we also just came out with a joint publication as a kind of a report with the FAO to say like what precise legal changes are required and then the steps. To sum up, we have the foundational law that's not with the Department of Fisheries but with the Maritime Zones of Act. And to operationalize this, there has to be an executive order to say like, okay, PSMA aligned ports are notified and then they are having the competency for the inspection process. And we need to designate the selected ports and develop inspection guidelines. It's not a rocket science, of course, but they need to be legally notified. And establish an electronic pre-arrival notification and reporting system for the vessels to enable them. And more important is like we have a federal structure and the government of India cannot operate on its own. The vessels will be coming to the state, the harbors which are managed with the coastal states, coastal maritime states. So that's where actually central and state PSMA implementation task force is to be created to move forward. And another case like very recently our Prime Minister visited Seychelles and then there was a lot of light on the way India should be playing a role in terms of building cooperation, exploring opportunities across the Indian Ocean. But there is one thing like possibly India should be looking at from Seychelles. Seychelles as a country has leveraged its strategic position and then huge number of foreign fleets, they land and then transship their stock on the shores, right? And this entire fish that is coming from different regions, this drives a multi-billion-dollar maritime economy that accounts for almost 90% of the country's total merchandise exports. Significant. You can see the green line is like export, blue is like import, and then the bottom one is like, orange is like import, and then the blue is the production, the capture there. The top one is like export. And further, if we dissect, PSMA is a long-term game. Just by ratification or signing, things will not change. The implementation is the key. So, this is the overall trend. And Seychelles signed the PSMA agreement in 2013. So, you can imagine like once the agreement was signed, before that obviously the countries were free to do whatever they wanted in their own as per the national laws. But after signing, there was a dip in the export. There was a decrease. The fishing vessels which are coming there, they were little having apprehension like they will be put into some trouble, all that like there were some fears. Subsequently, process kind of stabilized. Then you can see the exponential increase in the kind of landings that happened from the foreign vessels. It means the vessels which were catching in the high seas, which had an option of going to any other country, they chose Seychelles to unload and then use a processing facility there. So the country, when we start, we have to take lessons from all this. Ratification is only a start, but after that implementation and a lot of focus has to be there. Like, so we are very clear. I don't want to explain this. We have a huge strategic potential to take this or to leverage the possibilities of PSMA. So we have the geographic reach, port network, and a huge raw material base, and two seas on either side, which is like with a lot of foreign vessels coming. On the eastern side, the eastern Indian Ocean, which is only 5% of, Bay of Bengal is only 5% of the Indian Ocean area, but 40% of the Indian Ocean catch comes from this region. 80% of the Indian Ocean catch comes from the eastern Indian Ocean, 80%. 50 countries are fishing in this region. So it means having a port that is open to get these resources it will unlock huge potential. This is my last one. So we can say like a PSMA will serve as a seafood legality corridor. It will be opening up many new opportunities. First thing is it will first treat, once we ratify, it will close a treaty gap, which is very essential. And once we implement it effectively, which we are totally competent of, it would convert India's ports, processors and trade links into a re-export competitive platform. It doesn't mean like everybody immediately will start coming here. Like it is again, we have to demonstrate how we apply the ease of business so that our country becomes an important destination. So ratification through designating the ports, risk screening and inspection, and these are the steps. And this will be a win-win for almost every player who will be involved. So for example, for the processors, there is a huge advantage in terms of improved utilization. And for the government, ports, and then the agencies like MPEDA who are involved, it will create a single operating corridor. It will add to their revenue and improve the information access. And for the investors, today, the seafood industry, it will attract more investment. It will de-risk the cold stores and reduce buyer due diligence friction because of the international market restrictions, and further it will build confidence. So certainly, I don't want to portray as if like this is a magic wagon, you sign it and then the whole scenario is going to change. That is not the case. So it adds one more layer. It's an entry credential that will make or empower India to sell certainty, speed, and legality screened seafood logistics. Thank you.